Michelle, call the roll of members.
D'Amico?
Here.
Troyer?
Here.
Salvatore?
Here.
Mancini?
Here.
Bergio? Powers? Higgins?
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item C, approval of minutes of preceding meetings. We have one regular council meeting held on April 7th, 2015.
Motion to accept is printed. Support.
Motion made, properly supported, under discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. Moved to item D. Remarks from the audience on any subject matter.
Anybody wanted to know why I have a cane? It's because of Agent Orange in the Air Force in Vietnam. That's why the cane's here. But anyway, changes in latitude, changes in attitude. Good evening, Mayor Coyne, Council, residents. I'm a Vietnam vet, the voice, the redcoat, Ray Peterlin at 5811 Wangler Drive. I'd like to thank the residents who kept calling me. My phone wouldn't stop ringing at my house after the townhouse meeting. Our city is full-blown war over our budget and vision of the city's future. We are at a turning point. Some of our problems has fixed costs, such as the rec center, though there are variables there too. Other items are very different. Our roads have a cost of $10 million to, yes, $50 million. Why such a big difference? It depends on our maintenance. Let me make it perfectly clear. We have very good employees working hard in our streets, but they can only follow their marching orders from the city. If a tornado hit Brook Park and tore off roofs all around the city came and put a couple shingles on each house, the roofs would still leak. That's what we did last year to our roads. And we had spring, summer, and fall to patch the holes, cracks, and seal the roads. But our residents watched the city fill one hole and leave 40 in front of them and 40 in back of them. Example, Snow Road. We seem to be doing exactly the same this year. We're using the old tools that take 4 to 6 men, and still on a good day can only patch 40 holes. Plus they have no air compressor to blow out the holes, the water, and the dirt before putting the patch. And on cold weather, they have no torch to heat the hole for proper bonding. The new road killing machine used in Brunswick and Cleveland and other cities takes only 90 seconds per hole. It can do 200 plus holes a day, and the machine checks its work. Only required one person who does not have to get out of the vehicle. Yes, it costs, but look what you get for the money. Whichever method we use, we must, above everything else, completely seal all, not just some of the roads, before the winters are at our back door. If we get the job done properly, we'll save $40 million. If not, we lose the war. We chose to purchase a street sweeper because it would work harder to keep our sewers in working order. Last year and this year, we had a choice for lawn waste removal. If we would use the blue cans for lawn waste, there would not be 3 to 4 cans per house to pick up. We'd only need one, and we'd only need one person. The machine would not file workman's comp claims, call in sick, or take a vacation, or ask for a pension. The robot would do the job in half the time. That person not assigned to yard waste could pick up and be reassigned to road work. We need more taxes. Yes, yes, but will our people support this? If the vote was today, the people had said, because of the townhouse meeting, that no changes in latitude or changes in altitude, quoted from Jimmy Buffett, at this time does not look promising. What will it take? To start with the seniors, and I will do the math, the arithmetic, real slow. You follow me so far? Our old way, 1,500 seniors at $10 apiece, $15,000. Private snow contractor, 1,500 homes times $450 is $675,000. Grass contractor, 1,500 homes at $450 equals $675,000. Total is $1.35 million you're asking from the seniors to pay their own way. Times 10 years, that's $13.5 million from the seniors. What could have been done with the money? Furnaces, air conditioners, windows, driveways, roofs, dental, medical, wheelchairs. Seniors could have afforded the above if the senior programs were reinstated and would vote for the tax in the fall if they had the senior program reinstated. Simple third grade math. Do you follow me so far? I'm nearing the end of my speech. Thank you for your time. I'm sure we can find a way to call a truce and reunite this beautiful city. Ray Peterlin. Any questions from council members? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joan Markusik. At the mayor's public speech, he said that we need to privatize our trash and lawn waste or whatever it is, because we need to have those men to work on our streets, to get our streets up and running. Then, about a half hour or so after he was into his speech, he said that the streets in Brook Park are so bad that has to be contracted out. What I want to know is, are the streets so bad that they need to be contracted out, or can us privatizing, which is a bad idea in my opinion, going to have the men be able to repair the streets that we have? This goes back to my 2 or 3 month ago meeting when I said that I don't mind you telling me what needs to be done, and I don't mind you telling me how much it's going to cost, and I don't mind if you tell me that I need to have the city get a tax increase. All I want you to do is stop the double talk. I want you to give me the facts. I don't want a whole article telling me one sentence that I need to know. I just want you to tell me what you're going to do, what you need, what's going to be done, how it's going to be done, and what kind of guarantee the residents in this city have to get the city back up and running. Thank you.
You're going to move the agenda, reports from standing committees. Okay.
Let her sit down first before I run her over in the hallway. Matthew Wright, 13885 Brookdale Avenue. Dear esteemed council members, even though I've been unable to attend the last few council meetings, I have tried to listen to them. It seems to me that there's still some confusion about the fire department minimum manning. First, I want to again express to all of you that all of our surrounding cities have minimum manning. Most are done by policy, ours happens to be by contract. Rest assured that in every city there is always a minimum manning needed to handle the emergency calls that are received. Just as there is a minimum number of police officers on duty every day. As Councilman Mancini can attest to, when he spent time with the fire department and rode along with us on calls, the day after Mayor Coyne closed Station 2, it was decided to lower the minimum manning to 5. After just that one day, it was determined, sorry, I lost my place, that 5 was too low and not sufficient enough to handle the city's emergencies. From that day forward, it was determined between the fire chief, safety director, and mayor that the minimum manning would be 6. At that time, each shift consisted of 10 members. This staffing level is what led to the severe reduction in overtime. Currently, our shifts have been reduced to 9 members per shift, and with the voters voting to reopen Station 2, our minimum manning went back up to 7. With the current number of personnel, this causes a significant increase in overtime. It was not our choice to reduce the staffing. It is clearly the mayor and safety director's choice that they have decided to staff the fire department with overtime instead of maintaining the same staffing level as last year. Minimum manning levels are not just numbers that are pulled out of thin air. As I stated, all of our surrounding cities have minimum manning levels, whether it's set by policy, by contract, or by verbal understanding. These numbers are there in an attempt to cover a city's emergencies without having to wait too long for help to arrive if there are other emergency situations happening simultaneously. Due to economics, most cities have dropped their minimum manning levels to historic lows. The fire chief has told me that he has gone to the mayor and safety director and advised them of the need to keep the staffing level at least 10 per shift to reduce the overtime. But this seems to fall on deaf ears. It seems that there is an attempt to make it appear that your fire department is failing. This puts people's lives at risk, ours by not having enough personnel on scenes, and also our citizens. Mayor Coyne has stated numerous times that when he closed Station 2, he reallocated resources to a centralized station. But the reality is that he only did that for 1 month before he started threatening the first round of layoffs and reducing the fire department personnel. He then laid off 5 firefighters at the beginning of the year. We have lost 7 positions after the closing of Station number 2. That's not relocation, that's reduction. In the mayor's quest to get his way and keep the fire station number 2 closed, he chose to vilify your fire department employees by calling us greedy, along with other false accusations. How can this be true when the members of this department have taken 0% raises in 4 of the last 6 years? Along with the 0 raise last year, each member of this department also gave up $4,000 to $5,000 in concessions. Mr. Single and the safety director came up with a figure of approximately $600,000 as the cost of reopening Station number 2. I requested a copy of that worksheet that was used to come up with these figures back on April 23rd and have still yet to receive that. Just by looking at the budget numbers, in 2014 the fire department total budget was $3.4 million, with regular salaries being $2.59 and overtime set at $76,000. In the first half of 2014, we had 34 firefighters, including the chief and the assistant chief. Contrast that with the 2015 fire department budget, which is $3.6 million, with the regular salaries at $2.48 and overtime increased to $410,000. In 2015, we started the year with 27 firefighters. We are now at 30 after the rehiring of 3 laid-off employees. These numbers clearly show the city is choosing to use overtime to staff the fire department instead of maintaining staffing levels. When Mr. Single and the safety director came up with the cost of reopening Station number 2, did they take into account that having 3 less firefighters greatly impacts the amount of overtime? Last year's overtime numbers clearly show that 10 members per shift is the right number. By looking back at the daily fire department assignment sheets during that time that the fire station was closed, over 50% of the time there were at least 7 firefighter personnel on duty. This shows me that the fire department, if the fire department still had 10 members per shift, their overtime calculation would easily be cut in half. Proper staffing has always been the key to controlling overtime costs. I can tell you that the members of your fire department would much rather be properly staffed than work overtime. There's another thing I want you to be aware of. When we go through the entire process of getting hired by a city, it is the beginning of a 25 to 30-year career. Firefighter jobs are not just handed out. To be hired here in Brook Park, we already have to be certified firefighters and paramedics, then finish high enough on a competitive test, and then make it through an extensive interview and background check process. After going through this whole process, most firefighters do not leave within 5 to 10 years, unless there are job security issues or family changes. Since Mayor Coyne took office, we have lost 5 firefighters, losing over 10 years of knowledge and experience and dedicated service to Brook Park. Mayor Coyne's constant attack on your fire department has caused this loss. His constant threat of layoffs, closing fire stations, bringing in part-time employees, eliminating positions, and his favorite threat of privatizing EMS. All these threats have caused us to lose this experience. And I can tell you that one more of our firefighters with more than 7 years experience is leaving for another city, and yet one more is in the second part of a hiring process to get hired yet in another city. The second individual has served the city of Brook Park for more than 16 years. Our employees are being snatched up by other cities that are thrilled to be able to hire them. Cities like Rocky River, Highland Heights, Cleveland Heights, and Avon Lake. There are even more of your firefighters currently testing to get hired by other cities. Our people are leaving because of Mayor Coyne and the Safety Director Burns' constant threats to our job security. These people cannot be replaced overnight. It takes time to go through the hiring process, and if they're not from Brook Park, they need to learn our city streets, our rules, and our processes. In the mayor's last 2 community meetings, it has been stated over and over again that it is the fire department overtime that is causing the city's woes. It is clear that the way to severely reduce that number is proper staffing. If 2014 staffing levels are restored, you will see a cost savings from this year's budget. There is a need to hire off of our current civil service list and to give another test, since the current one is close to expiring, to be able to reduce that overtime. To make it clear again, the union does not determine the staffing levels, and we are tired of taking the blame for the overtime costs. We would all rather just work our regular hours and go home to be with our families. Mayor Coyne, we have shown that we are more than willing to try to work through these difficult times. We are willing to stay tonight after the meeting if you'd like to have more discussion. We are not here seeking more money or a bigger budget. We are here asking our leaders to spend the existing budget smarter, pay salaries instead of overtime, and also reap the operational benefits of sometimes even having 8 or more firefighters on duty. Thank you again for your time. If you have any questions, please give me a call.
We'll move the agenda. Item E, reports from standing committees. Aviation, Environmental, Councilman Higgins.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nothing to report under aviation and environmental, but as some of the council members are aware, I do sit on the NOACA board, which stands for Northeast Ohio Area Coordination Agency, which is a 5-county agency that does a lot of good work in our infrastructure around the city. I also sit on a subcommittee, which is the Planning and Progress Committee. And last month we did forward a favorable recommendation to our executive meeting, which will be sitting in June for a number of road projects, one which includes, I'm happy to report, Snow Road for 2016, and I believe the number on that was $1.6 million. So I'm looking forward to that vote in June. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Councilman. Move the Finance Committee, Councilman D'Amico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board of Control met tonight. They had 29 items on the agenda which passed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman. Go to Legislative Committee, Councilman Troyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no report this evening.
Thanks, Councilman. We go to Parks and Recreation, Councilman Bergio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Parks and Recreation has legislation on tonight's agenda.
Thanks, Councilman. We go to Planning Committee, Councilman Mancini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 3 items that I'm going to bring out today. The first, we had a meeting last night, Monday, May 4th, 2015 at 7:15. The first was a request for an aesthetic approval for signage at 4985 West 150th Street, Rock and Roll City, Harley-Davidson, located in the U7-C district. Mr. D'Amico probably covered in his zoning maybe a little bit, but there was 10 items, and there was 2 ground signs, which was item 2 that I believe need further discussion. Again, Mr. D'Amico probably helped me out a little bit. I think that was pretty heavy on. Thank you. The second was a request approval to construct a new 120-foot wireless communication tower at 16935 Hummel Road, Southwest Cap, located in the U5C zone. That was approved. The third was a request to approval to install new utility pole in the public right-of-way for the purpose of mounting wireless communication equipment at the locations I have below on my sheet right here. One was 19147 Snow Road, 17993 Sylvia Drive, 5017 West 137th, 5269 that was also located on 137th. This was tabled. Our mayor will contact First Energy, see if there can't be some a little pole usage agreement on that. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. We'll go to Safety Committee, Councilman Salvatore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Safety Committee has one item on tonight's agenda.
Thanks, Councilman. Go to Service Committee, Councilwoman Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Service Committee has one item on agenda tonight.
Thanks, Councilwoman. Go to Board of Zoning Appeals, Councilman D'Amico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Mr. Mancini said, we held the meetings last night. Board of Zoning met, and at the time for Rock and Roll City Hall of Harley-Davidson, there was 9 variances, which there were 10 originally, and 1 was tabled and be brought and resubmitted. But the other 9 were approved for wall signs and would greatly help aesthetically improve that area. We had 1 fence that was brought up as far as a denial, and the other thing was the All Ohio Cremation and Burial Society needed to install a ground sign at 16150 Brook Park Road, and that was approved also. I do have the plans for the Harley-Davidson, if anybody would like to see them, and gives very well detailed pictures and color of what they're going to look like when they're done. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Councilman. We'll go to item F, reports from special committees. Southwest General Health Center, Trustee Councilman Salvatore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The board met on April 29th, and we had an appointment of Jeffrey Peters, a doctor out of the University Hospital, who was appointed to our health system board. And our chairman formed a nominating committee, Mike Kalinich out of Strongsville, Dave Bartolota out of Middleburg Heights, and myself out of Brook Park. We'll be serving on that term for this year. And as you know, 2014 was a banner year for a lot of awards that the hospital received. And this year it's starting off the same way. We received the Gold Award for Quality from the American Heart Association, as well as the American Stroke Association. We also received the Gold Plus Award from the American Heart Association and the American Stroke Association. We received a silver ranking from the Commission on Cancer. And we've also received the America's 50 Best Hospitals for Stroke. That was given to us from the Women's Choice Award. And we also received the Best Hospital for Cancer Care given by the Women's Choice Award. And once again, 4 years in a row now, we received the Leapfrog Award, which is Excellence in Delivery of Service. And we also did a lot of remodeling and the purchase of some new furniture, and all the old furniture was donated through the MedWish Foundation. It was 11,984 pounds worth of furniture. And through that organization, our used furniture at Southwest is going to end up at a healthcare organization in Honduras. And finally, Mr. Chairman, the week of May 6th through May 12th, we'll be celebrating Nurses Week. So if you see any nurses, make sure you let them know that they're doing a great job, and they're also going under the new issue of ethical practices and quality care, and they're really doing a fine job, and they're receiving tons of awards and tons of great letters and the service they're providing. Other than that, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Thanks, Councilman. Move the Berea Board of Education, Representative Councilman Mancini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The board met on the 4th at the administration building, which would have been yesterday. Some of the things covered and some of the things this past couple weeks. The first is on May 4th through the 8th, there's a staff appreciation week, which would be this week. Number 2, the Berea City Schools will have a summer day camp, June 15th through August 2nd, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Ford Intermediate School. Camp 1 is for K through 3 grades. Camp 2 is for 4th through 7th grades. Registration forms are located at the Berea City School District website. You can call the Communication Service Office at 216-433-0808 if you've never seen the Berea City School District website. It's a very good site. Maybe not as good as our own here in Brook Park, but it's a very good site. The school district also announced that the Treasury Department won 2 prestigious awards for excellence in recording, keeping, and budget presentation. The awards were the Notorious Budget Award and the Auditor of the State Award. The district annual student art show will take place May 18th through the 21st in the Student Activity Center at Baldwin Wallace University from 3:30 to 7. That'll be each day through the 18th and 21st. And see a lot of creative artwork when they have their meetings at the administration building in their main room at the Berea City main campus there. They have all the kids' artworks around the room. It's really a nice thing to see, and I'm sure a lot of it will be there too. The board will have a special meeting May 11th at 5:30 in Staff Room 1 at the Berea Board of Education Building, Fair Street in Berea, to discuss the use of special education funds, the discussions on the use of federally funded early childhood special education fund. It's open to the public, and your input is appreciated. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilman. We have no items on G or H. Move to item I, reports and communications from the mayor, Mayor Coney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I provided you with this information this evening on the live streaming of the council meetings, so our residents will be able to view the meetings at home. And I'd just like council's verbal approval to put about $3,000 in the capital budget. When I send it over to you, we'll have somebody come and make a presentation, but you can see the operational costs are minimal, so that if council at least give me at some point this evening a verbal approval, at least put it in your budget, and that way it's allocated. I think it will be very helpful in informing our citizens. Okay. Just a couple of comments here. Mr. Peterlin, thank you very much for the Jimmy Buffett laden observations that you have. Your figures always challenge me a little bit, but the fact of the matter is I think that it'll be good for the community to have a dialogue about these issues that are important to them. And I tried in a couple different occasions to spell those out. Sometimes those measures have to change. And the other young lady that was up here about spelling out exactly what things are for, I did that. Those were rejected. And that's why we have to have a serious conversation about these streets. And at least you recognize we're trying to allocate our workforce. Now, there are some measures that our service workers can do. And you keep bringing up Snow Road. Literally, a whole lane of Snow Road is going to have to be planed because the chuck holes are rolled up in the asphalt that are rolled up on the curb from the trucks that come down there. And if you drive around the town and you figure of $10 million, as I said, most of our city streets are 60 years old. And we don't have the provisions to take care of them, short of the residents giving us more money on the capital side, where I believe that money should go and make sure that no one can spend it on anything else. Having said that, in the short term, I have about $10 million worth of work. I went to our borrowing advisors, and I'll present that to council. And literally borrowing that money, short-term, long-term, would obliterate most of what we have available for capital improvement right now, which is only about 20%, which is 20% of the revenue that comes in the city, and 26% of that is already allocated for debt that we have right now. Finally, I'll address my favorite subject, and that's the members of a local 1141. I've never said that they're the reason our city has problems. They seem to think that I cause all of their problems. And we have many members of council up here that have sat on negotiating teams. And negotiations are tough. And the old adage is both sides come away feeling that they're angry, they can achieve all they want, they say that good. But I have to tell you, the presentation this evening, at least I want to congratulate firefighter Wright for having a better demeanor here than he had the evening, because I think that your representation by folks in the community, whether they like me or not, was not well received and didn't speak well of you. That's just a personal observation. But let me say this to you, we haven't tried in every way to make things work. Every city employee here, including the firefighters, have not received a pay raise. Do I like that? Do I think it's fair? Do I think they're overpaid? No, I do not. It's been an age-old argument about overtime as opposed to hiring people. And in the years that I've spent here as mayor, I've said the same thing the first time I walked in the firehouse in 1982, and I said the same thing the day that Jim Mastorino retired when I came back here. I want us with the right number of firefighters in one location servicing our people, and our folks should be the highest compensated in this region. And for most of the time I was mayor, you were. Everybody. The elected officials, the mayor, our workers, those days are over. The reality that I have to deal with is a building that's abandoned down there and the ramifications of that. I mean, maybe you're tired of hearing it, but that's a fact. So I haven't changed one bit, and I've worked my first 20 years here, and I'll work now to achieve that particular situation. Now, part-time firefighters, I'm sure there are many members of our force right now that work part-time. There might even be some in other cities. There may be maybe others that work for private ambulance carriers. As a matter of fact, we had one of our officials move to the town right very close to the person that owns a private ambulance service. So Mayor Coyne didn't create the creature that is change in the country. And every single union and association in the United States of America has had to embrace change in their industry. Some caused by NAFTA and GATT, and you can see on record that my whole career I've opposed every one of them, and I will oppose the current Asian treaty right now because it's destroyed the American worker manufacturing in this country, and our president believes that we're not going to do those things anymore. So, but to get up here and act like, you know, everything is just hunky-dory, the mayor's a mean SOB, and he hates the firefighters. Nothing can be further from the truth. When you make proposals to me that you authored and put in front of me talking about an issue, indicating this Manning issue, to act like that is not important, I'm sorry. Everybody who's been in elected office in this town for a long, long time knows that is the crucial issue. And how it first started, all the terrible mayor, most of the great things that you have in your contracts that we now have to talk about, changing because of economics, was granted by Mayor Coyne and some of the people sitting up here at this city council. So you've never been treated improperly. There's no discussion. You don't have any discussion about part-time people. You don't want to have any discussion about the reduction in the positions that we think are unnecessary. As far as the chief is concerned, he hasn't talked to me really about anything since we consolidated back, or we went back to 2 stations. And I think Mr. Wright pointed out properly, in most cases it's not in a union contract. We've had 2 elections in this town to keep it in a union contract and keep that mandate. All right? And why was that changed? Because of dynamics of providing services and the cost of providing services. And I'll get you, I'm unaware that you asked for something and didn't get it, because the more information you have, believe me, I'm happy that you have. So therefore, I'm certain that what is costing us, it will cost us the same in hiring more people. And I think as at the meeting before I was rudely interrupted there, was discussing about this region needs to have this discussion. I know your concerns about this mutual aid has gotten to the point anymore that I'm wondering if any city knows what they really have in terms of their ambulance and their firefighters anymore. Okay? What do we have? We're moving people all around. Who has the real capabilities? We have ambulances in Middleburg Heights picking our people. You people are picking up people in Berea. Okay? These issues need to be talked about. All right? And I'm on your side on that, because the fact of the matter is that is really diminished people's understanding of what it costs to deliver the kind of service that we want. And basically none of us have a real fire department. So some changes can make that possible. Will I stop talking about it just because you don't like it? No. Because if I'm aware of a situation to provide service to the people of this town at a more reasonable cost, I have to tell you, fee for service, my goodness, it's unbelievable. And I have to tell you, it took a long time and painstaking thought process for me to come out of my mouth. But the fact of the matter is, those kinds of changings are coming to the service that you deliver, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not. So while I disagree with you, I've never disparaged you. I have issues with the heads of your union. I do. And I made it clear, and if you read anything that I wrote out there, you could see that. And I've consistently said this: I don't have a problem with our folks when they come to our people's door. It's how we get there I have a problem with. So we can move a long way by embracing what the facts are. But to act like minimum manning isn't your holy grail is very disingenuous. And it must be addressed. So if anyone wants to take that out of the contract and let us establish policy, I have a problem with the unions dictating the daily operations of this city in any department. In any department. So I'm going to come over and visit Matt Wright tomorrow. I understand he's on duty, and him and I can have a nice, hopefully friendly discussion amongst us both, or a collective group of people in there to get some of these things out of the way. And maybe, just maybe, if we stick our heads above ground and start hunkering down in retrievable positions, that's not going to do anybody any good. We're going to keep spinning our wheels. And you're not going to get farther ahead, and certainly the city's not going to get farther ahead, but the fact of the matter is if we have to fight to get there, then we will, all right? And I don't choose to come up here and have the little grievances that we have to deal with on a daily basis that quite frankly wouldn't shed great light on you. I've never been that way, and I'm not going to be there now. My problem has always been logistical operations, because I believe, even under our current conditions, that if we are consolidated into that one firehouse, we can provide adequate service. And finally, I'm going to say this. I think we proved it over a period of time. And if we're observing what's going on now, and I don't know that from a true situation is that we're operating out of 2 stations right now, to be very candid with you. All right? And we'll have some discussions about that. So that's all I'm about. That's all I've ever been about. And if you're mistaking that for me, what I've said at that meeting right now, at the point that I truly believe in, is the people of this city have to look in the mirror and decide what they're going to do, because I don't care who sits up here. We don't have a spending problem. I read these blogs. There's not a spending problem in this town. Nobody's wasting any money. You may challenge for a constituency that thinks what they have is more important than you, whether it's seniors or recreation. We need revenue to operate. And what I said at that meeting, and I'm saying tonight, and I've talked to council, if you will give me the tools to make the changes that I need to make from the operational side, will get us on the right track, on the right size, on the right number of employees, and get that moving forward. On the capital side, if our people don't dig in their pockets for us, then we're going to continue to have the problems we have of the appearance of the infrastructure of the town. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Bergio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor, talking about the capital expenses, you mentioned at the town hall meeting of proposing a tax levy. I'd like to know how much was that proposed for, and have you talked to the finance director about what it would cost the average homeowner?
We're working on it right now. First thing I want to do is have a discussion with City Council about it. Okay, it would be 0.5%. We believe it would generate about $5 million a year. We're going to work on, you can't have exact science of who pays what taxes because we're not allowed to know that. Okay, but we can give you an idea. What I can tell you is anybody on, we don't tax retirement income in here. And what we'll do is try to put a little list of what cities have this and what cities have that. So again, we're in the process of working on that, and we'll give it to council because only council can put it on.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'm getting some questions about it because you did mention it and you want to know how much. That's the question they're asking.
That
so
is correct.
I don't have a good answer. And the other thing is, you mentioned, and I mentioned this a couple weeks ago about the yard waste. It is still a problem for a lot of the seniors. They're just having a hard time dealing with that. And I did mention that you did say you may extend it. I'm hoping that you could extend it to the end of summer. Do you have any date in mind that you might extend it to?
We need to have a frank discussion about that before I do that. And that's just putting things down the line. From what I'm gauging is that as long as it's picked up, I think one of the greatest misnomers of talking to people that evening, they thought they were going to be assessed for it. And they're not. And so therefore, I'm willing to sit with council and talk about that. And getting an issue done in the short term, so long term we can move forward. As you can see, and right now with all of you going out there walking, and you're sending us all these things from grinding stumps to cutting trees to taking care of this, you're not gonna have the personnel to do the job. And so I think when the people understand they're not gonna be charged anymore, these jobs have already been eliminated, they'll come back through attrition. I don't see what the issue is of us not moving forward, to be very candid with you. And particularly, I think Mr. Peterlin raised the issue about the capital costs. We looked at that. We'd have to buy 2 more trucks. We'd have to buy the cans that they have out there. All right, so should we make millions of dollars in capital costs, which I happen to believe is inevitable that this service is going to be outsourced like it is for every other city. I wish it wasn't so, but I believe that it is. So we can have that discussion. I think we should have a meeting about it.
Last question, would you take a lie detector test?
Yes.
That came up at our town hall meeting.
Yes, I would, and I believe everybody else here would as well. Again, I haven't lied to anybody about anything. They might not like the facts, they might have a difference of my opinion. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. And if anyone wants to prove that, I challenge you to do so.
Okay.
That's a fact.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Councilman Mancini.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Mayor, you probably know, no one sends more memos probably to you than me. And that's where I come from. We took a lot of pay freezes. I think Matt mentioned 4 out of 6 for them. There's a lot to be done here, absolutely. And I know we cover this in the mayor's comments a lot of time. Ray said he got a lot of calls. Well, I learned from a lot of the old timers that were our predecessors here. This is mine, the last, I would say, 3 weeks here of people who call, just, a lot of questions. Rubbish was one, a lot of things. They want this done, they want that done. My question is, boy, I'd like to have that meeting with council as soon as we can. I mean, I think that'd be very good and start moving ahead a little bit. So anytime you're ready to have that meeting, I'm ready for it. So we can start moving ahead and see what we're gonna do to get some income and start getting some things done. So that's kind of a comment, kind of a question.
I concur.
Thank you.
Councilman Troyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mayor, I'm not going to ask you about the $2 million again because the last
1.6.
3 or 4 times I asked you about it, you really didn't answer clearly. So what I'd like to ask you about tonight is what Mr. Peterlin mentioned about the blue cans. And this came up last year, early in the year, because I was told that our recycling is people are doing what they can, but they just don't have that much. And we're picking up twice a month, and the cans only have a foot or so in the bottom, and really not using the whole can, and it's kind of an issue. So, and I suggested at that point that why don't we do yard waste? Well, actually, at first I suggested that why don't we do it once a month? But then after we started with the yard waste issues in the spring last year, I suggested that we use the blue cans and then pick up the recyclables in bags, which is very light. In fact, I mean, I'm not proposing this, but it'd be a lot easier for the residents to bring up recycles to a bin than it is for yard waste. So have we considered anything like that?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, to the councilman, yes, we did. All right, matter of fact, Councilman Virgil looked at, we're going to have smaller cans for folks, and looking at it, you need 2 more trucks to do that. Because you try to pick up yard waste at Brook Park once a month, and you will have no idea the problem that entails. So if you had 2 more trucks, I even looked at, maybe we should drill holes in it, because you have to vent the yard waste. And when we looked at the cans that came out, they have like a grid on top of them, kind of like this. And it's open, so it's vented. Okay, so you'd have to buy 2 more trucks, and you'd have to buy those cans, and by the time that these trucks have to be replaced. There's a lot of work being done. So to make the capital investments, I believe we provided that to council, but to make the capital investment for a program that, in my view, sooner or later has to be contracted out, doesn't make a lot of sense. All right, we'd have to buy, more yard waste containers or adapt those. But the fact of the matter is, right now you have 4 days a week. They're picking them up on their garbage day. All right, so logistically, it's a problem, and it's a capital cost that, quite frankly, right now would eliminate most of what you have. About the only road we're doing this year is Leslie and Sylvia. So the capital cost, this is where we're having the problems right now. That is what you don't have. And to me, that's what was the striking thing of proposing privatizing and outsourcing the garbage. The other issue is this, okay, and while our workers work very hard, it's not a young man's job. And how did we gain the $1.6 million that you can't find or you want me to bring to you in a box or something? It's because we reduced people. And the most of the employees that we reduced was the service department across the board. So what I'm saying to you is that you'd have to buy 2 more trucks to do this work. Outsourcing it, they're purchasing our trucks, they're purchasing our cans. We get that capital liability off the books, which is about $250,000 a year for the next 4 years. You're talking $1 million there. To me, it made the most sense to outsource that work. Our folks wouldn't know the difference. And the thing where I heard really rejection to this thing is that they thought they were being assessed for it. And we had those discussions early on, and also outsourcing the sewer to county engineer, which many, or whatever they call it now, public works, which many of the surrounding cities do. And my comment to you is, I would rather have in our hands our sewer operations than anybody can pick up garbage with an automated truck. And in particular, the yard waste is a problem for us. So it was in that vein that I made the proposal to council that we outsource this, and then therefore we would pick up these workers that are already on our payroll to perform other duties.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, did you just say, correct me if I'm wrong, did you just say that we were having a lot of problems with these automated garbage trucks that are only 3.5 years old? And
what I'm saying to you is they have costs. We just put, what do we just put on the trucks?
Did we get a warranty on these?
Yes, you did, but there are some things that at some point in time are not. So you still have to do maintenance on them. So what I'm saying to you is they have a life. So at the same time, you have these 3. We're paying for 4 more years. One of those is probably going to have to be replaced over that time. So that's going to be a constant. And if you buy 2 more, double what your annual cost is going to be, because one of those trucks is probably going to have to be replaced every 2nd or 3rd year. That's what I'm saying to you.
So we were able to get a loan or a lease on these trucks that we have to be paying on longer than the trucks were functional.
That's usually true. There's maintenance when you lease a car, unless you get an all-inclusive. I mean, just think of the statement you just made. Do you ever lease a car?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so therefore there are some things included in your lease, unless you get the all-inclusive that they pay for all the maintenance. You have to get tires. You have to put brakes on it. We have to do the same thing. It's no different.
Okay, we're going to move the agenda up to reports and communications from other departments, commissions, and public officials. We'll start with our city engineer, Ed Piatek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to follow up with a question that Councilman DeMico had at last meeting regarding the quiet zone over at Holland Road. I spoke with Mike Dolan, and he passed along to me some correspondence that he's had with CSX officials. Some of this correspondence indicates some confusion as to what entity files certain paperwork with the Federal Railroad Administration. And it's my understanding at the first of this year, or in January of this year, the FRA, that's the Federal Railroad Administration, updated their train horn rule. So I think CSX might be a little confused as to who files this certain paperwork to get these, some of these forms up to date. So we're working with CSX right now and trying to get that clarified. So right now, until that paperwork is filed and cleared up, they will continue to blow their horns over at Holland Road between Michael and Middlebrook. The Smith Sewer Phase 3 project. Right now, we got mainline installation into just north of the Holland Road intersection, where that's about where we're ending. We do have to go through the intersection, but right now we're just north of there. We did have the service connection crew mobilized, and they're working currently north of Snow Road. So you'll see a few more crews, a few more guys out running around up there. Just as an update to the traffic, we anticipate Monday morning closing the Holland Road intersection, the through traffic and the left turn movements, so that the contractor can get into that intersection, install some pipe, some manholes, to make some of those connections through there. Right now I have a meeting set up tomorrow with the police chief, the fire chief, tomorrow afternoon to go over some of these closures so that everybody's aware of what routes are going to be open and what are not going to be open. So we can anticipate some changes over at Holland and Smith on Monday morning. We did have a sewer collapse over on Gallatin Boulevard, just west of Westbrook. Got in touch with 5 contractors to submit a price. 2 of them submitted a price. 2 of them said that they were too busy, and the one I never heard back from. Tonight's Board of Control, we did have an item, I believe, that was passed, and we hope to have a crew out there on Thursday or Friday to start that repair work over on Gallatin. Lastly, the Leslie Sylvia Drive reconstruction and waterline project. Right now it's scheduled to advertise on the 12th and on the 19th, and then we would open bids on May 26th. So that project is moving forward. That's all I have this evening.
Councilman DiMico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair to Ed Piatek. Ed, first of all, thank you for that update on Holland Road. Appreciate your work on that. Also, I want to discuss, as I've talked to some residents over in Ward 1, over by Haviland area especially, that crossing is up there more by Fasico on Sheldon Road between Eastland and 237. Are we in any kind of negotiations with Bria or anybody? And I know Mr. Dolan's not here. He was here earlier. I asked him.
That question is yes.
Okay, so the negotiations are being taken to try to make steps for the quiet zones. That's the question then. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Mancini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, when I ask you all these questions, you always do me so well. So I got a couple tonight real quick. Thanks. On that Smith Road project between Hummel and Snow, I got 3 merchants over there. Kind of curious when that might go to 2 lanes over there. I know they're at 1 and they are moving it. You got that traffic flowing pretty good over there, but is there going to be a time coming soon that might go to 2 lanes?
I would anticipate, I think we probably got 12, 14 connections up there, maybe more than that. I would anticipate sometime maybe next month in June. I could get you a little better time frame as we move forward here. The connection crew, it's a new crew. They're a little bit slow to start, and I anticipate them picking up the pace and being able to knock out some more of these connections than what they're currently getting. So some of that, it's kind of a moving target. It's kind of hard to hit right now.
Okay, and hopefully most of this, the overlay and everything will be done hopefully around August maybe?
Well, the project has a completion date of, I believe, September 5th, sometime in, I think, early September. So we're on schedule, we're currently on schedule. I don't anticipate any delays as of right now. Mainline installation is just about complete. That's where you would see most of your issues or unforeseen conditions. So hopefully the service connection work will go smooth. So I would anticipate August, September.
Definitely stop and let the 3 of them go. I'm glad you brought that up to today about that Monday morning about that Holland, because that could be a real headache if we don't get that out early. That could be.
Yes.
And I'm really glad you brought that up and are going to handle that. The other one on that train noise. A couple residents here tonight. I know it gets out of hand. I've had a lot of people tell me they think it's gotten better. And I thank you if you handled that, and I think Neil had something to do with that too. Do we deal with Georgia Southern at all on that too, besides CSX? Because Georgia Southern is a little more here back by 237, am I right?
You're referring...
North Brook and Southern, yeah.
Norfolk Southern is over along like 237 is the triple track along 237. CSX is a single track over on the east side of town, and CSX is a double track by the service department by Henry Ford Boulevard. I'm not aware of the other. You said there was another railroad that was operating.
No, North Southern. I just wondered if we deal with them at all about this train noise, or just, we were just dealing with CSX. That's all.
I haven't been involved much with the train noise as far as the idling, if that's what you're referring to.
No, just
the horns.
Yep.
Mike Dolan actually has been leading the charge, I think, with a lot of that work. Maybe him and Neil have been doing a lot of the work over with the train horns.
Okay, I'll definitely talk with him, and I appreciate it, though, as always. Thank you very much.
Councilman Schroyer.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair to the engineer, Mr. Piatek, I'm just going to ask you a couple, I'm going to make a statement and you just answer real quickly. If I'm smiling out right now, it's because I appreciate your update on Sylvia Leslie and giving me the dates, and I've been wanting to get that done for a long time. But then I hear that the Norfolk Southern Tracks, the quiet zone, which I've been begging for a year and 4 months, and couldn't get anywhere. In fact, I believe I asked for legislation to be drawn up to create a quiet zone there a while back. We're doing this. We're looking into it. Is this what's happening? I mean, I'm going to get a.
I'll answer the question. First of all, it takes years to get a quiet zone. So you can pass the legislation that you want. Okay, and looking at, there's been an increased problem with the trains primarily idling, and from time to time, the horns, because they don't have enough engineer to move the trains and they're storing them. There's a fine gentleman, I'm not going to use his name, that calls me all the time. And as a matter of fact, he had about 2 pages of expletives for the railroad. At the end said, "I'm praying for you, God bless you to get this accomplished." So I told Mike, let's talk to the city of Bree and see if they're interested. It's primarily our problem. It doesn't affect any residential neighborhoods in the city of Brea. They're open to it. So we're beginning the dialogue. And Dennis Patton will tell you, way back when we first started this, Arsenal was the Speaker of the House, and him and I went down and testified. He couldn't have an understanding about what problem that we had. And the next time we came back, he went back to his district and he understood. So they're not as simple as just saying we want to have them. And history will show you that the resources for that is allocated largely because of what Dennis and I did in that trip, and we got the money to provide for them. So we may be talking about this right now, and maybe 4 years down the line. I know that Councilman Higgins has worked to get the one there at Holland Road, and I know how long that has taken. And if there's any institution in the United States of America that defies any logic or gravity or movement, it's the railroad. So this is a beginning. Hopefully we'll get something done there. So it's not like anybody hasn't thought about this. We've even thought about the intersection there at Eastland in 237, but I don't believe they're ever going to give us the capabilities of doing it there because of of so many tracks and just the logistics of that intersection. So no one's stalling your abilities to do anything, and it's not like this hasn't been discussed. It has. Now if we have a partner, we can move it along a lot faster.
Okay, you're almost teasing me with mentioning Eastland too. But I believe the first quiet zone on Holland by the service garage, I believe that took about 10 years to get in place. So I know, but that was back then before all the legislation was in place. So I think I'm just really happy about this. This is the first I heard about it. That's what actually.
If I may, remember the railroad still has a lot of control. Remember.
In the meantime, if we just get them not to blow his whistles so loud.
We'll try.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move the agenda to our Service Director, Lou Kayat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last week I went and attended a pre-construction meeting over at ODOT for Route 237 for repair and resurfacing. They wanted to start that yesterday, but the Carville won the bid on that, but they don't have a signed contract yet, so ODOT won't allow them to get up there and get started with signage or anything because they don't want the responsibility of somebody getting ran over up there with no contract. Saying that, since our last meeting and the last month or so with the street sweeper, we picked up 60 plus tons of debris off the streets in our neighborhoods. I haven't got up on Brook Park Road, Snow Road, Smith Road, and that yet. With my manpower, with the guys on yard waste now, I kind of limited what I can do as far as kind of have an extra guy I can put them on that. Vacations haven't started yet. I had 6 guys off today, 1 on vacation, 2 personal days, 2 guys off, and I wasn't able to put a patch crew together because I didn't have enough people. I had a group out there ripping up holes in the catch basins, get the catch basins repaired for Mr. Mancini over here. Other than that, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Lou. Councilman Higgins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to remind the mayor and the service director that we did budget for two laborers in the budget in case you need to bring back a couple laid off guys and do some of that work you can't get to.
Councilman Bergio.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. To Service Director, I saw the street sweeper out quite a bit, so I'm glad about that, not complaining. But one resident asked me today how come the street sweeper went down the same street the day before and the day after. And I said I would ask you tonight. I assume that it's possible that was it filled with debris and that they didn't finish and they had to come back to finish the street the next day. That's what I assumed, but it was just my guess.
I don't know, Councilman, I can't answer that. What street was it? What
This
time was it?
Claudia last Thursday.
Well, Claudia, some of those streets are that bad that they have to run over them twice.
Okay. Right. Also, I know you have less personnel and so forth, and you have to do a lot more with less people. How are the fields at this point in time, as far as the sports and all the diamonds and so forth? Are they in good shape?
You can ask that to the Recreation Director.
Recreation Director?
Yes, they work diligently on them and they look really good. And the kids are out there practicing.
Thank you, I appreciate that. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Mancini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lou, again, there's probably no one sends more memos than me, and you were absolutely right. I appreciate that. I mean, it's not sometimes, and I know you're behind. I mean, I tell people when they do call, hey, look, here's exactly what it is, and I tell them. So, but I appreciate it on the trees, stumps, memos I send you, catch basins. Chuck holes are big. They're definitely all over, and I did a lot of that work, and you were right on that sweeper. I mean, I did that, not a lot, but I did that, and sometimes 2-3 times you have to go over, especially this time of year. I also know that I want to cover them chuck holes real good too. It takes a lot. I mean, we have a lot of them, and you could spend a lot of time on each one. And you know, I know probably everybody here could think of one in particular in their mind. And you know, I guess short crew, everything. Our goal is to get as many as we can each day. So if I stand corrected on that, let me know. But I do appreciate the things that you do and the guys do down there. Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Lou.
Thank you, Councilman Mancini. You know, my men spent a week and a half up there in Sylvia between Holland and Glenway. Was so bad, it was mind-boggling how bad that street got.
Residents.
And I'd like to answer Mr. Peterman's comments on what the guys do. They do pick out the old asphalt, they just don't lay it over. But one of those chuck hole killers, that machine does not do that. You still have to have crews out there to pick that old stuff out. Otherwise, it's like painting over rust. Also, the equipment that we have purchased, since I've been service director, we purchased a couple hot boxes, one hot box, one recycler, which the materials, you can heat that stuff up to over 300 degrees if you want to. So you don't need to use blow torches. The guys do sweep out the stuff that's in the holes. I actually had the Vector up there on Sylvia because those joints were so bad, they were so disintegrated, it was just powder. So I had the Vector up there sucking the powder out of the joints so that this new asphalt will hold and give us a few years up there to hold that stuff in there. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Lou. We'll move the agenda to our safety director, Dave Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To members of council, we've the memos you sent to the mayor, almost all, I think all of them now were addressed from last meeting. The mayor usually sends them to me and we've addressed them. Either most of them are for the police, for traffic problems, but a lot of them for the animal warden. And they've been real busy this last couple of weeks. With the nicer weather, we have stepped up our police presence in the neighborhood to try to keep the speed down. That seems to have been working. We have had a problem, though, with some vandalism in some of our parks. Now, our auxiliaries are patrolling the parks now for us, and they actually did catch a couple juveniles, I think the day before yesterday. But there's been some damage done at night. So if you have any friends or neighbors of teenagers, you might want to mention it to them. That's about it, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Dave. Councilman Mancini.
Mr. Safety Director, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I definitely seen the police out, there's no doubt about it. I did not send you a memo, but I definitely see them out a lot. I seen a bunch of kids under the bridge the other day, an officer drive past them, thought he didn't see them, turned around and stopped them. They do a great job, like all our departments, all our safety forces. The one thing that I did want to get from you was that what we discussed the other day on that report on what was that, Sylvia?
On Sylvia.
Yeah, because that definitely, what you told me at the State of the City, definitely differed from what you told me on that report. So if I could get a copy of that report, absolutely, I appreciate that.
Councilman, I have that report for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You move the agenda. We'll go to our law director, Neil Jameson.
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Neil. Any members of the council have any questions of the law director? Seeing none, we'll go to our recreation director, Mary Ann Fields.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 2 items. Our mentoring program that we started called Impact, inspiring many people across the community together, is having their first Youth Fun Day this Friday from 5:30 to 7 with a variety of activities for the youth to come out, and preceding that from 7 to 10, we're having our next youth dance. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Mary Ann. Councilman Mancini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Marion, how are we doing on the sign-ups for the rec memberships at this point compared to this time last year?
We're kind of staying at the same pace as where we were last year. As we're gaining more members, because we're charging less, instead of the $20 and $40 a month, we're charging $10 and $20 a month, our revenue is still down.
Okay, because like we discussed the other day, we're seeing some members come back, which is really good. It was just the front, was it yesterday? And it was great to see him coming too, and I'm looking forward to Friday with you and Cindy, so that'll be a good time, so thank you.
Okay, we'll move the agenda to our finance director, Greg Sinkle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few items tonight. First, monthly reports for April will be distributed here in the next few days. As always, if there are any questions, feel free to give me a call. Second item, Councilwoman Powers had asked at the last meeting, I believe it was, what the cost was to provide yard waste service in the community. So we went through and we prepared an analysis. Again, this is only estimated, but roughly the total cost for yard waste service in the community is about $250,000 a year. Again, it's an estimated figure, but $250,000 a year for yard waste service. And last, Mr. Chairman, just to address Mr. Wright's comments earlier today, his request for the cost to reopen Rupel Road wasn't made directly to me, but I do have a copy of the analysis that we put together that I relayed to council last week, and we'll provide that copy to Mr. Wright this evening at the conclusion of this meeting. I just ask in the future that if Mr. Wright or anyone from the fire department or anyone in general has a request from my department, to make that request directly to me, either via email or through the inter-office mail. That concludes my report tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Greg. Okay, we'll move the agenda to item K. Other communication petitions under verbal approval, introduction of new legislation. We have several. The first one's introduced by Councilman Bergio, a resolution designating the month of July as Parks and Recreation Month in the city of Brook Park and declaring an emergency that will be placed to recreation. This was introduced by Councilman Salvatore, a resolution honoring Samantha Rocco for being accepted into the Junior Statesmen of America Summer School Program at Princeton University and declaring an emergency that will be placed in legislative. I have another one from Councilman Salvatore, a resolution honoring Jan Skinner for being nominated as 2015 Citizen of the Year and declaring an emergency to be placed in legislative. You have another one from Councilman Salvatore, a resolution honoring Katie Studier for being nominated as 2015 Citizen of the Year and declaring an emergency. That will also be placed in legislative. We have introduced several pieces from Councilman D'Amico, Patton, Higgins, Bergio, and Salvatore, an ordinance providing for the submission to the electorate of an amendment to Article 4, Section 401 of the Charter of the City of Brook Park, Ohio, declaring an emergency. We have another one from Councilman D'Amico, Patton, Higgins, Pershing, and Salvatore. Ordinance providing for the submission to the electric of an amendment of Article Section 15.02B of the Charter of the City of Brook Park, Ohio, declaring an emergency. That will be placed in finance. Another one from Councilman D'Amico, Patton, Higgins, Bergio, and Salvatore, an ordinance providing for the submission to the electric of an amendment of an article for 409 of the Charter of the City of Brook Park and declaring an emergency, placed in finance. Councilman D'Amico, Patton, Higgins, Bergio, and Salvatore, ordinance providing for the submission to the electric an amendment, Section 405B of the Charter of the City of Brook Park, declaring an emergency, introduce, place that in finance. Councilman D'Amico, Patton, Higgins, Bergio, and Salvatore, an ordinance providing for the submission of electric to the amendment, Section 40.08 of the Charter of the City of Brook Park, declaring an emergency. Councilman D'Amico, Patton, Higgins, Bergio, and Salvatore, an ordinance providing for the submission of electric to the amendment of Article Section 1601 of the Charter. This will also be placed in finance. We have no items on L. Move to item M. Mr. Salvatore.
I'd like to add one more. That's that. It's the one that somehow you didn't get it.
We have Councilman Salvatore resolution honoring Don and Holly Rudy, celebrating 2 golden anniversaries and declaring an emergency. We'll also place this in the legislative committee. Okay, we'll go to item M, introduction of resolutions and ordinance on a first reading. We have 2. Resolution number 10-2015. Michelle.
Honoring the Berea Mid-Park Titan boys basketball team for the winning the back-to-back Southwest Conference Championship and district runner-up and declaring an emergency. Introduced by Councilman Bergio and Council members Troyer, Mancini, Powers, Higgins, D'Amico, Salvatore, Council President Patton, and Mayor Coyne.
Resolution number 10-2015. It's had its first reading. Go to resolution number 11-2015.
Requesting the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio limit utility providers' ability to conduct home solicitation. Introduced by Councilwoman Powers.
Resolution number 11-2015. It's had its first reading. We have no items on N or O. Go to P, adjournment. There's no further business. The council meeting is hereby adjourned.